How does censorship affect social development? And so, just to help you out, censorship is the elimination of materials deemed unfit or damaging, and social development is educating people in order to promote social welfare and improve the quality of people in general. And so, To Kill a Mockingbird, it's a book most of us read freshman year, and it's a book that basically anyone you ask will say like, oh yeah, I liked that book, it was one I actually enjoyed. But this tweet by Ben Sessom says, engaged parents should call the school district with the clear message, our kids are tough enough to read a real book. And he said this because To Kill a Mockingbird, though it's a favorite book, it's also one of the most banned books in schools because many parents think that it's damaging because it actually deals with real issues. And that leads into my topic, is social development. So one side says that censorship improves social development, or that it allows kids to be more better people and more understanding, but the other side says that it limits social development and prevents them from this understanding. So one side is more the teacher's side, and they say that it affects it in a bad way. They say that limiting the information we can give to students also limits the types of conversations sometimes that we can have. So they're talking, there's this video I watched that had a teacher talking about how her personal experience with censorship, and how that when she's not allowed to read a book, or when a parent has something against a book, it takes away from the lesson and makes it so that they can't fully understand situations that are different than their own. And in order to understand people that are different, they have to be educated about people that are different. This is a comic about the book, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and it says, he was a mighty good African-American man of color and a celebrant of Kwanzaa, Jim was. So most of us have read this book, and you know that's not the regular passage from the book. But making it school appropriate makes it so that you aren't adding anything to a conversation. Making it so that it's just, he was a mighty good African-American man of color doesn't help you understand what the time was back then, and how with the N-word on here, the history of the N-word is so vast, and using it now is very offensive, but without reading this book or without understanding that history, you don't realize what's wrong with it. Like, if you just hear it in a rap song, you're like, oh, that word that they said, and you're like, it's fine, but it's not fine, and that's what we need to learn, but censoring things prevents us from that. Also, censorship adds fear. So if people are afraid that they'll be censored about everything, they don't go into the real conversations or the deep conversations, which prevents them from understanding these things and from becoming developed socially, and from that. And it takes away from the material that they're learning, which is important. The parents' perspective, or the other side, is very different. They believe that their kid needs to be protected from these harsh topics rather than exposed to them. This is a quote from the Gale Encyclopedia of American Law, and it says that conflict ensues when parents believe that certain school books contain material that is objectionable on political, moral, or religious grounds and should be banned in order to protect their children from exposure to allegedly harmful ideas. So there's a certain control that parents have over their kids that the administration can't go around. So that I feel like there needs to be an understanding that kids need to learn this in order to become understanding, but many parents want their kids just be as sheltered as long as they can, don't have to face the real world until they get there, which is where the other side comes in. This is a video of a teacher. It's a TED Talk. I'll just play a real quick clip of
it. First is that students might not be ready for complicated facts. So you start them with simple ones, and you complicate their lives later. For example, we all learned that classical Greece was a democracy. Now, it's a particular kind of democracy. It was a direct democracy. And it was only partly a democracy. It's limited to a specific group of people, only for adult males who had completed their military training. In the US, we also learned in the beginning that the Civil War was fought over slavery. Only later do you learn that it was really fought over states' rights. But states' rights is a complicated idea. In order to understand states' rights, you have to understand federalism. To understand federalism, you have to understand constitutionalism, and so on. So this is all too much for students to wrap their heads around in the beginning. And in the classroom, you really are trying to take all this information that's out there in the world. It really is like a raging river. And you're trying to effectively control its flow. It's the three words down. You want to control information.
Sorry. Okay, here we go. So parents think that by sheltering their kids from these complicated facts, they can prolong the confusion, And so they say, well, I'll just wait until they're older and then I'll complicate their lives, which creates a problem of you could do it like the teacher's way and just give them all the facts and then answer all their questions and then raise generations more understanding, knows things, or you can protect your child and shelter them from anything that could potentially harm them. Another point that the parents have is they want to create a safe environment, an environment free from anything that will harm them or ruin their self-esteem. This quote is from a court case. And it says, public school students who may be injured by verbal assaults have a right to be free from such attacks while on school campuses. And the other one says, the school may regulate student speech that would impinge upon the rights of students. So what these have in common is the creating of a safe environment. They're trying to create a school space where students can learn without fear of being bullied or discriminated against, which is very important. And I think that the solution lies somewhere in the middle. But parents have the thing, well, if you don't expose them to anything that's harmful, kids won't say anything that's harmful. Well, the teachers say that exposing them to these harmful ideas prevents them from using them on other students. So when I was doing my research, I was talking to the librarian and talking about the school journalism here and like reading a bunch of books and court cases, and I was like, before I did all that, I thought censorship has no place in a school. But as I was finding it, I was saying censorship has no place in a lesson plan, but must be enforced in the halls. And after doing all my research, I believe that it's very important for students to be exposed to harmful ideas, potentially harmful ideas, and to learn about things that are different than them, but that outside of the classroom they must be punished for using those against other students and using what they've learned to discriminate against others. And that is my presentation.